sees, and more importantly, besides all that, because who am I to talk about what's going on in someone's bedroom? As long as it's consensual and it's not violent like this, which is absolutely horrible. But I'm a live and let live conservative when it comes to consensual, legal interactions between consenting adults. Obviously, what Schneiderman did goes beyond the pale. But beyond all the freaky and deviancy and all the, the freaky deaky stuff, we really have to talk about the hypocrisy here. Eric Schneiderman is supposed to be the top cop, quote unquote, the head of the food chain, the top of the food chain when it comes to, legal prosecutions, both civilly and criminally, protecting rights and protecting, people from criminality. And he's doing this sort of behavior. He's threatening these women. He's slapping and choking these women. He's telling them, you better not leave me because I'll threaten you with coming after you, not only politically, but, for your personal safety. My goodness. Talk about the height of hypocrisy. A man who outwardly held himself out to be the champion of women. He specifically went for this himself, guys. On the podium for the March for Women as one of the top lawmakers in New York. And it's amazing how the public face and the private face just a total 180 with this guy. Something very wrong with him. But there's also something very wrong with the Democrat Party in the People's Republic of New York. And probably Democrats across the nation can see the same thing going on here. From the time this broke, which was a little after 6 o'clock on Monday, to resignation, and all the demands for resignation and all that, less than 4 hours elapsed. That's got to be some kind of record. But you know what also that means, folks? That also means this was a little bit of political theater. If you don't think that Andrew Cuomo, who wants to be your next president, by the way, make no mistake about that. If you don't think Andrew Cuomo and the New York Democrat leadership didn't know this was coming down the pipe, I got a bridge to sell you. And it's in Brooklyn. It's made of stone. It's over 100 years old. You could have it for a song. Andrew Cuomo and his people knew this was coming. They were tipped off somehow. They knew that the story was percolating. Or, what could be even more insidious, they knew this was going on when it was going on. And they didn't say anything about it. Now, I know that's a big leap for me to say. I'm usually a guy that deals with hard evidence and I don't want to say things out of turn like that. But if you look at Farrow's story in The New Yorker, there's discussion about friends of at least one of the women advising this victim of sexual assault that she should keep her mouth shut about this, not only because of fear of reprisal from him, but because he's a rising star in the Democrat Party and can do so much more good if he's allowed to flourish as a public figure and not let all this other nonsense, being that he's a sexual predator, come out. What? I sincerely hope this was just a couple of wrong-headed friends that said this, and it wasn't somebody politically motivated, a consultant or anything like that, with this going on and saying this. Because if that was, wow, that is a sad, sad commentary for politics and the state of it in the People's Republic of New York, but also across the nation. But also, I think that they were tipped off about this because if you look at the rollout of the timing from news breaking to statement by the governor, Andrew Cuomo, calling on the resignation of Schneiderman, and then the resignation itself, a little over an hour elapsed between the two. It was a crazy quick amount of time. And there are politically expedient reasons for that, folks, in my opinion. Like I said before, Andrew Cuomo wants to be governor. He cannot have a scandal lingering in his administration. He's got enough of that going on as it is. Joseph Percoco, his right-hand guy, was just recently convicted on corruption charges. Part of the Albany swamp. New York State, the capital of corruption, especially under his watch. And, the issues he had with his own ethics task force committee looking for, the Public Integrity Commission and all that he pulled the plug on when they started investigating him. That all that comes back around when you start looking for a presidential candidate. So he had to get the Schneiderman thing out of the way really quickly. But more importantly, he had to get it out of the way because of his primary opponent, who was running against him for I believe the Democratic line, but also the Working Families Party line. Hollywood's own Cynthia Nixon, Miranda from, Sex and the City. Are you kidding me? A Me Too issue for one of the loudest liberal voices out there currently, that's also a celebrity, a cause celeb, a cause celebrity, whatever you want to call it. I'm not good with phrases. You know this by now. But, a celebrity cause like the Me Too movement with a celebrity running against you, you got to box that out. You got to push that to the side. You got to be like, hold up, wait a minute here. Got to make sure that we don't give any life to this campaign that could take us down. If you look at some of the numbers polling across the board, Cynthia Nixon can pull, at least in a general election in a three-way race, can pull 20 to 25% just now currently on name recognition. Imagine if she had a Me Too movement issue that she can then use to take votes away from Cuomo. He would be already under 50% in a three-way race. He could dip down even lower and possibly make it a real horse race for either a primary or a three-way race. Notice I'm not talking about any Republican here. There is a Republican candidate, Marcus Molinaro, but he's just getting started. Name recognition is not so great right now, and it is the People's Republic of New York, folks. It's always an uphill battle for any Republican running statewide, especially when you're outnumbered at least 2-1, probably 3-1 by now. Who knows? Point being, Republicans got a lot of work to do to factor into a statewide race. Put all that aside, Cynthia Nixon was the main problem here because she's been staking out positions to the left of Cuomo, dragging him further to the left. You give her a Me Too movement issue, and she's off and running to the races, folks. So Cuomo, A, had to get tipped off, B, had to box out Cynthia Nixon, and C, get out of this as unscathed with scandal as possible, because there's already a cloud of scandal over a lot of the Cuomo administration. So he was in a bind, and he got out of it as quickly as he could. But back to the national ramifications of all this now. Eric Schneiderman was a rising star, much the same way that Anthony Weiner was a rising star when fighting for Obamacare and fighting against congressional Republicans and all that. Outspoken, used his office to stake out positions that seemed to be very popular among progressives, media darling. Like I said, Full Frontal Comedy with Samantha Bee. I know, I don't watch the show either. I had to look it up myself. Had him touted as the man who could take down Trump because he had staked out so many lawsuits before Trump became a candidate and since, and in going after him. He was supposed to be, one of the people in the front row of the resistance. Forget about the Me Too part, just the resistance in total. And look what happened to him. Public face versus private face. It'll get you every time. But before we close out the segment, let's give a little credit where it's due to our president, President Trump, who apparently called this whole thing 5 years ago. Back when Anthony Weiner's thing was going down in 2013, and we were covering it here as part of our Buffoon of the Year festivities and all that fun stuff, Donald Trump was tweeting about Eric Schneiderman being worse than Weiner. How did he know? Your guess is as good as mine, but if I had to speculate, that to me is an indication that Eric Schneiderman's proclivities and his tendencies to drink and become abusive and become violent may have been an open secret in political circles in the People's Republic of New York. And if that turns out to be the case, if Kirsten Gillibrand, who also wants to run for president, knew about this and still endorsed this man and still championed him as a champion of women, if Andrew Cuomo knew about this and ran in 2 different elections on the same ticket as this guy, if Democratic leaders knew about his proclivities and they still backed him for statewide office anyway, and that all that comes out eventually, thanks to, in part, a tweet from President Trump circa 2013, then the brand of the Democratic Party takes a very big hit. They go from being the quote-unquote resistance to quote-unquote the hypocrites. And only the fringe, the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders of the world, they're the ones that will benefit from any damage of that brand. Because then they can point and say, we're the real reformers. These are the hypocrites that just want to remain in power. A lot of moving parts again here, folks. Nothing bodes well here for Democrats as they struggle to amass this blue wave that's supposed to be coming in 2018. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll see if that happens. But if and when that wave comes, guess who won't be a part of it? Eric Schneiderman. We're going to take our last break, but when we come back, we're going to hit a couple of different topics here and point out the latest example of politainment gone wrong. And check out the final thought later as well, folks. We're going to talk about when socialism goes horribly, horribly wrong. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after these brief words. Hey folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the same box ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders with ease. So again, go to www.behindenemylinesradio.us and you click on the SaneBox ad and you'll be given an exclusive offer you won't find anywhere else. Time for a little music. We call this, What the F*** is Maxine Waters Saying?
To be clear, you believe it would have been better to keep in place an FBI director who you said had no credibility to oversee this investigation than to find someone who you think would be a better choice?
No. But I believe the president thought that. Don't forget. You're talking about what some Democrats said, what I said, but don't forget, he was the president. The president supported him. You had confidence in him. It was within his power. And
but you said he had no credibility, so it would seem to make sense that he should get rid of him.
No. Under investigation, this president basically has interfered with an investigation where he may be implicated. That's outrageous, and that's why we're having so much of a conversation about it today.
The bottom line is that you think an FBI director without credibility would have been best served in this position to try to pursue this investigation.
I think if the president had fired him when he first came in, he would not have to be in a position now where he's trying to make up a story about why. It does not meet the smell test.
Yeah, something smells all right.
Understood. So if Hillary Clinton had won the White House, would you have recommended that she fire FBI Director James Comey?
Well, let me tell you something. If she had won the White House, I believe that given what he did to her and what he tried to do, she should have fired him.
So she should have fired him, but he shouldn't have fired him. This is why I'm confused.
No, you're not confused.
Yes I am. Gene Baradelli, back behind.